All right, fall is here. It is official here in Wyoming. It's official everywhere, I believe, as of today, but the period of transition that we witnessed here in Wyoming is pretty significant. The leaves are turning, which is always a beautiful sight. The mornings are very cool. The afternoons never get too hot. I am settling in to fall. I have nothing major planned except to focus on what we're doing here at the roastery. And another significant transition is moving out of Kenya season and into Ethiopia. So we have our last Kenya of the year here on the table, and starting next month we're going to start putting up our Ethiopia season. So a lot of fun stuff. Let's jump in here. And we are starting this month with another coffee from a farm called La Esperanza. This is a different farm from what we had released before. So we've named this La Esperanza 2, and is also a washed pink bourbon. Tasting pretty juicy this morning, very sweet. And for the notes we have listed lime, strawberry taffy, and marshmallow. Marshmallow is a pretty good descriptor of the level of development in this coffee. This is a light roast. It's been a while since we've marked a coffee as a light roast, so the indication here is that this coffee is a little more developed. We are focusing on sweetness and trying to get a balance between sweetness and acidity here. So that marshmallow marker on there is an indicator to you all about the level of development here. I look at sweetness development in coffee ranging from florals all the way to a brown sugar or a molasses or just a roast indicator. So marshmallow is on the lighter side. As I'm tasting today and have been noticing with this coffee, that marshmallow note sometimes comes across a little bit like a honeysuckle. So I would say somewhere between marshmallow, honeysuckle, kind of edging upon that floral character in this pink bourbon with this coffee. But I think the sugar development is right there in marshmallow, or even a little bit darker, a marshmallow with a little bit of a toast on there. The lime up front is really nice. It's juicy, it's bright, very clean. It's got a nice intensity to it as well. And then that strawberry taffy in the middle there. Strawberry is a little less present with what I'm tasting this morning, but the sweetness is there for sure. Definitely a very candied taffy-like sweetness to it. So I'm going to leave this here. We might try a little bit different of a format today. I'm going to let this cool down a little bit. We're going to move on to the next one. And second up is our last Kenya of the season. This is Gatomboya. This is an AA separation from Nyeri, just like last month's Kiamwangi. Another very classic type Kenya. Big juiciness out of this one. Raspberry, blackberry, green apple, all intense fruits, all with lots of acidity, lots of juiciness to them. The blackberry tartness in particular, I think, is really pronounced this morning as I'm tasting it. A very clean cup overall. It's very short on the palate as I'm tasting this morning, so you get a very big hit of the acidity, the juiciness from that acidity, and it moves right through those notes and just kind of cuts off. With that apple note being last, I think that's should be a little bit expected. There's not a lot of linger here to this cup, just like kind of with a crisp apple. Oh, very bright, very juicy. And again, I'll let this cool down a little bit. These are 1 day off roast. I didn't plan very well to have some rested coffee on hand. I want to let these cool off a little bit so we can go back and explore a little more. And lastly today, another beautiful coffee from Savage, and this is Deborah Echo. This is a beauty. This is a cascara infused carbonic macerated washed. So in contrast to the iridescence that we've had, this has a infusion with cascara, the cherry of the coffee fruit itself, and it's very, very present in the cup. It's a really lovely cascara note on this. Wow, it's really soft, it's subtle, it's heavily floral. For the notes, we have cascara, elderberry, and folklore rose. So folklore rose is a specific variety of rose. It was developed in the 70s, if I'm remembering correctly. I went to a rose garden this summer and smelled many different types, many different varieties of roses, and noticed that there's quite a big difference in fragrance between different rose varieties. I'm sure that is not a surprise to any rose gardeners out there, but it really kind of took me by surprise, especially noticing that some rose fragrances could be really juicy and lush and kind of fruity, and some could be very perfumey, very fragrant, and just sort of that classic perfumed rose. This is the latter, this folklore rose, very, very perfumey, very intense fragrance to it, and I think fits really nicely with this coffee. Goodness, that is really a beautiful cup. The elderberry note, not very intense, there's not a lot of acidity to it, and coupled with the roast profile on this being a hyper light profile, not a lot of acidity should be expected out of this cup. It is very, very fragrant, very floral. That is the emphasis placed on this one. Okay, I'm gonna go back through here again. So let's go back to La Esperanza. This is nice to be able to triangulate a little bit after I did some cupping videos and kind of had some fun moving back and forth, tasting and comparing. Kind of wanted to move that over to the tasting video as well. The lime note really making itself known here. It's really nice brightness up front. I would say the sweetness is heavier compared to these two. There's a lot of sweetness over here in the Echo, but it's a different type of sweetness compared to what we have here. This is really opening up nicely as it's cooled. And the strawberry coming through maybe a little bit more here. A little of a fresher strawberry. It's not quite a super ripe, juicy strawberry. It's a little more tart, certainly. And in terms of the level of development, I'd say this is definitely a rounder and more full cup compared to these other two, giving it a nice balance as well to it. The marshmallow is, yeah, kind of bouncing between a marshmallow and maybe a honeysuckle or just a honey in there in the finish. It's got a nice linger to it. It's smooth and finishes out really nicely. Excellent cup. Light roast and subscriber bag number 1 for the month. Okay, back to this Kenya. Big, juicy, acidity, punchy. The raspberry and blackberry, I think, are definitely hitting on this. A little almost lemonade in here, but a raspberry, blackberry, green apple. I think these notes are all hitting. The cup remains very short, very intense punchiness that just kind of hits and then is over. Ooh, very bright, super juicy. Let me compare again. go back. Yeah, and some sugar development coming through. And in Kenya, brown sugar is a very popular note. We're nowhere near that with this roast. This is an ultralight roast, but some sugariness there, which is really nice. There's a little bit of a tactileness to it, but again, it's not as big and round and balanced as our La Esperanza. It's a lot shorter of a taste there. Oh my. And this Echo, the rose, I think, is a beautiful note. It's very pronounced in the cup. It's very floral, very, very fragrant. Less acidity, I think, than both of these other two coffees. It's all florals with this cup, with the touch of cascara on there that I think kind of hits up front, but it's kind of omnipresent throughout. And cascara is a tart tea. If you brew it as a tea, it has some nice tartness to it. A little bit hibiscus-like, but we're not anywhere close to the acidity that we're talking about with these other two cups. This is very soft in its acidity presentation. Elderberry is also kind of an indicator of that. A dried elderberry, of more subtle, softer fruit, good sweetness to it, excellent sweetness to the cup, low acidity, super high fragrance, very high florality. That's a real beauty. This is a hyper light coffee. I'm brewing it one day off roast, and I can tell where this is going to go. And 40, 50 days of rest on this coffee is going to give something absolutely spectacular. I think this will be a favorite for many people. If you're a floral seeker, this is the one, I think, so far this year. Are there others? I don't know. Okay, yeah, awesome. Great table. Brewing and rest. So like I mentioned, these are one day off for me. I made some minor adjustments to my brews to try and compensate for that, but I think these are going to be some good guidelines as well. So with the La Esperanza 2 being a light roast, I think 15, 20 days. This might even push into a 30-day rest to get the best out of it. For brewing today, I went with the Gabby Gentle recipe, and I modified it just a bit. I updosed about a half gram, so I went to 12.5 grams. And I coarsened up the grind just a little bit, just a quarter of a point on my dial. So I went from 7 to 7.25. A minor change, but that little bit of an updosing, a little bit of a coarser grind gave me a pretty big cup, a lot of roundness to it, I gotta say. And especially as we've cooled down here, this is a little trick for very fresh coffees. Let the cups cool down. Cooled cups really show a lot of their character. And the lime is really popping out on this. I think this is a really nice cup. We got a lot of new Roaster's Choice subscribers this month. This is a great intro into what we put in this bag slot, I think. So really nice. Yeah, 15, 20 days. This could maybe push to 30, especially if you're newer to this type of roast style. Okay, Kenya Gatomboya. This is an ultralight coffee. This is similar to the other Kenyas that we've released this year in terms of the roast profile. So I would expect similar amounts of rest to what's worked for you all in the past. Being an ultralight coffee, I would ordinarily recommend a Gabby standard type brew, but because we're talking about a Kenya with lots of big fruity notes to it, this morning I brewed it with a Gabby Gentle recipe. No modifications. I wanted to push the juiciness, push the sweetness out on this one, and it's definitely showing it. I think this is a versatile coffee and could probably present itself really well no matter what. I would recommend probably a 20 to 30 day window on this one. It's tasting a little fresh this morning, a little bit green. I love that punchiness though. The intensity is off the charts with this one. Really excellent. So with rest, I think the sweetness could balance out a little bit, introduce itself a little bit more. But if you're looking for a big acid coffee, this is the one this month. And finally, with our hyper light Echo. The florals are a reckoning with this coffee. It's omega floral. As I mentioned, 40, 50, 60 days rest on an H&S Hyperlight is going to reward you with all of the best attributes of this coffee. None of the freshness that might be overbearing. It doesn't taste too fresh this morning, but it's a soft cup and it's very subtle. The florals are certainly emphasized. There's good sweetness here. Diminished acidity versus these other two on the table by design, but I expect acidity probably is going to show itself a little bit with rest. It is a bit thin, and again, I think that could be a day one issue. That could be just part of the coffee, part of the roast by design as I'm comparing them to these other two. But also I brewed this with the Gabby standard recipe today. So I expect it's going to taste a bit thinner compared to the others. This is a big 1:18 ratio. I did modify this one a little bit and go a little bit finer. Less of a modification than what I made on the La Esperanza 2, just a touch finer on the dial. At day one, I mean, it's showing the notes that I wanted to have. So at, again, 40, 50 days post-roast, I think this one is going to be just absolutely stellar. Great table, a great variety of coffee here, both in terms of profile and individual character and terroir and the like. Great diversity here this month. I'm really, really happy with this. A great month to be starting off as a Roaster's Choice subscriber. A great month to be a longtime Roaster's Choice subscriber. Coming up next month, we will be starting off with Ethiopia season. Stay tuned for that. Given the diversity of the coffees on this table, a light, an ultralight, and a hyperlight, I think that might necessitate its own video to dive in a little bit deeper on what that all means to us here at H&S. That could be a fun, interesting video. I will try to get something out. We've also got a new toy in the roastery we've been playing with, the OXO Rapid Brewer. Have you seen this? Have you heard about this yet? Pretty fun little device and makes coffee in quite a different way from a lot of the other stuff out there. So a video on that, maybe. I don't know that we want to do gear reviews, but could be interesting, could be fun. Okay, that's it for now. I hope you all are enjoying the fall, the cooler weather, the leaves turning on the trees. It's always beautiful to get outside this time of year. It's probably my favorite time of year to go outside. So I'll see you out there. All right, happy sipping.